Today in You Mean Tea, we are going to get deep, and we are going to get introspective, and we are going to get personal. So get ready for it. Welcome to You, Me, and Tea. If you're new to this or you're new to my content, welcome aboard. I do this series called You, Me, and Tea, where I sit down with a cup of tea and I chillax in a cozy place, and sometimes I have big cozy sweaters on like I do today. But I sit and I talk about a topic or a life update or my latest ponderings, whatever, and we sit and chat. So if you'd like, feel free to take this time to make your favorite cup of tea or coffee or other hot liquid beverage and join me. Today in You Mean Tea, we are going to get deep, and we are going to get introspective, and we are going to get personal. So if you don't want a serious video, go look at my other videos. But I thought that I would talk about therapy. I want to talk about my experience with therapy, and this is hard for me to talk about because I'm opening up so you guys can see my inner jellies. Obviously that's scary to open up, and I do feel very vulnerable talking about this in front of this camera right now. But the reason why I want to share it is because I feel like it will start to break down the stigma around going to therapy. I think a lot of people are afraid of it, but I truly believe that everyone could benefit from going to therapy. So I'm hoping that this video will somehow help 1, 2, 3 of you. Hopefully a lot of you, but if it only helps one of you, that would be so important. Also, for more inspiration for this video, I posted on Instagram and Twitter asking what you guys want to know about my therapy experience, or what you want to know about therapy in general that I can give my personal opinion about. So I'm going to be answering some of those questions. All right, someone asked, how did you decide that you want to start therapy? So here's the story about that. For as long as I can remember, I've had anxiety issues, which may come as a shock, which may be like completely not what you're expecting out of me, I don't know, but I struggle with this anxiety and this like not being able to like myself, and I've struggled with that for a long time. I had gone to a counselor when I was at university, when I was in college. It wasn't really therapy. It was more of like a life coach kind of situation. There was a point in my second year of college that I was really anxious and like super stressed all the time, and I just like needed to talk to someone to talk about my life and sort it out. So anyway, someone talked to me about seeing a counselor, just signing up for one because it was a free service on the college campus. So I went to the office and I signed up for counseling sessions. My counselor was Oscar, and he ended up being my counselor for the last 3 years of my second year, third year, and fourth year of college. And I went roughly once a week. So that was my first experience with anything related to counseling / therapy / just like talking to a stranger about my feelings. At the time it helped, but I knew that I wanted something deeper. I wanted to talk about my problems in a really deep, honest way and really dig to the core of why I'm so anxious all the time and why the same problems constantly keep coming up. But that's not really what my counselor was there for. He did help with a lot of things in my life, and he helped change my mindset about a lot of things, but it wasn't in a very deeply penetrating way. Then years go by. Fast forward to last September 2018. My first time ever moving abroad and living abroad for a long period of time. And I moved to Spain to teach English and all that. Moving abroad as a whole, it is stressful. It's very difficult. You go through the whole up and down with culture shock, with adjusting to a culture and then feeling really homesick, and then you're adjusting to it and you really love it, and then you end up going home and you're like reverse culture shock and you're like, what is this all about? This is an entire different experience. And on top of that, if you move to a country that doesn't speak your native language, that adds a bunch of extra stress as well. So last March, March 2019, this year, I hit a really low point basically with just not feeling happy and not feeling full or fulfilled. I was still teaching English at that point. I was kind of trying to juggle like a music life and then teaching English, which I really hated, and like kind of sucked the energy and life and creativity out of my entire body. And my anxiety was really bad. And I felt like I couldn't please anyone. I felt like I couldn't please myself, and I wasn't sure why. So anyway, I hit a really low point one day. I remember there was a whole day where I didn't leave my room, just laid in bed all day and like felt so crappy and so like hopeless. Like I have no idea what I'm doing. I'm not happy. So that was really hard. What is this? Why am I getting weepy? Why am I doing this? I told you this was going to get deep, okay? I told you that from the start. Anyway, this day comes where I hit this big wall and everything comes crashing down, and I'm like, I have nowhere else to go. I don't know what else to do. I will do anything to feel okay and to feel like I like myself. So I decided to look up therapists. Opened up my laptop and I Google searched English speaking therapists in Madrid, and I started doing research. I started looking into it. I ended up finding a therapist. Her name's Kristen, and I met with her. I bawled my eyes out the first time I sat with her, but I felt really good about it, and I ended up really liking her, and I was like, okay, I could do this. I want to meet with her again. I've been doing therapy now for 8 months, and I meet with her once a week, once every other week. Yeah, that's my overarching general thing about my experience starting therapy. Okay. Someone asked, how do you deal with your anxiety? So I have never been officially diagnosed with anxiety. I just want to say that, but I do think that I do have anxiety. I genuinely think I have anxiety. I think it's some sort of high functioning generalized anxiety. So therapy has helped me so much learning how to deal with that when that happens. Whenever I get anxious about things, when I have like big spurts of anxiety, and it really helps me to talk about my issues, like to talk things through. Therapy has helped me a lot with realizing that it's okay to feel anything that I'm feeling. That has been one of the biggest takeaways for me, because I'd always had a weird self-esteem thing. I've always had like low self-esteem, or like didn't really see myself as of value. This is hard for me to talk about because it has a lot to do with like me not liking myself. Therapy has helped me a lot with understanding where all that is coming from, like at the core, where that came from in my childhood, basically. I had been going to therapy for maybe a month, and something came up that happened in my childhood, and I talked about it, and my therapist was like, that's interesting, because that doesn't seem like something that's normal. And I was like, it doesn't? And she's like, no. Which is crazy, because the things that happen in your childhood you think are normal. But yeah, a lot of my anxiety issues and a lot of my like perfectionist issues and a lot of like me being hard on myself and me not liking myself all stemmed from my childhood and how I grew up, and certain events that happened when I grew up. And going to therapy and just talking about it and being open has really helped me realize that. All this to say, I'm still figuring out how my anxiety works, and I'm still figuring out like how to deal with it and handle it, but I've grown so much in understanding myself and just learning how I function as a human being. Okay, someone asked, what type of therapy are you doing? And I go to a Gestalt therapist, or Gestalt, I'm not sure how to pronounce it, but it's Gestalt. And there's so many different kinds of therapy, so if you're interested in researching therapy, definitely like research the different kinds as well and what you think that you would need. But I go to a Gestalt therapist, which is basically like their belief is all the pieces equal the whole. So all the pieces of your life make up you as a whole person. If something happens to you, that has to do with this, and if that happens, that has to do with that, and it's all connected, which I like, because I kind of view the world like that anyway. Okay, next question. Someone asked, has it helped you? I'm thinking of going, but afraid of feeling like I'm crazy. I think everyone's a little crazy, so I think that's what makes life interesting. But if you think that it will help you, try it. I definitely like 100% think everyone should try it at least once and see if it's for them. The problem though is that it's not universally available to everyone, which really sucks. It depends on what kind of health insurance that you have. It depends where you live. It depends economically where you're at. It's not readily available to everyone, and it's not free for everyone. I pay for my therapy out of my pocket, and my insurance covers 0% of that. And it's not just me, there are so many people out there who can't afford therapy, and I wish there was some way that we could all be universally covered, because I do think so many people need therapy who don't have access to it. If you are thinking about doing therapy or just trying it out, or like you keep falling into the same patterns in your life, or something doesn't feel right, or you just need guidance in your life in some sort of way, I highly recommend researching, just opening up Google and typing in therapist near me. Also, you can like ask people for advice, you can ask your friends or your family if they've ever done therapy. Someone asked me also what perspective people have on therapy in the United States, but I kind of just want to answer this as a general thing, like what kind of perspective people have about it in general, like from my personal experience living in Europe and then also living in the States. I do think there's a stigma around it and people are scared of it and people maybe don't have the right idea about it. They think that it's you go into a room and you sit on a black couch and you lay down and your therapist has glasses and is the stereotypical sits in the chair with a notebook and goes, and how does that make you feel? And that's the whole session. But no, it's not really like that. My therapist is very warm and personable. It's almost like I'm talking to a friend. I sit in a chair, she sits in a chair across from me, and it's a very casual thing. She gives me a glass of water, we just like talk and chat. A lot of times I end up crying in those sessions, but I always end the session feeling way better than I did before, which is good. And I think that just has a lot to do with being in an environment where you feel comfortable opening up and where you feel not judged at all about what you say. You are paying someone to listen to you. So it's super nice. So like you can say whatever you want and they give professional advice back to you. As I was saying before, I do think there's a stigma about therapy and people are afraid of it, or people think, oh, I can't go to therapy because I don't have a serious mental illness and I'm not seriously suffering, so like it's fine. But genuinely, I thought that same thing. I didn't think that I was seriously suffering. I'm like, oh, well, I'm sure there are people who like clearly need to go to therapy and I can survive without it. Well, I couldn't survive without it. I hit a rock bottom and I was like, I will do anything, literally anything. I'm desperate to feel happy and whole and like I like myself. Anyone can go to therapy. Everyone should go to therapy, in my opinion, and that's that. I guess that's all I have to say about this for now. Thanks so much for your questions on Instagram and on Twitter. Comment below if you want me to talk about anything else regarding this, like in more depth. Talk about like anxiety more, or talk about therapy more, or talk about life stuff more. I don't know. If there's any topics that you want me to talk about in future You Mean Teas, comment down below. I hope that hearing me talk about therapy has encouraged you to look into it for yourself. That's it. This video, by the way, is sponsored by therapy. So go get some therapy. Yep, it's not. I wish it was. All right, till next time, stay rad.